Hi, I am Katie Allison. This is my project for the board observation that we had. That was week 4. I decided to go with the diagramming of the Ozarks. I do just want to put in that I did a small PowerPoint because I'm more of a talker and I really like to get out and express everything that I learned. I want to say that I absolutely loved this assignment, being able to sit on a board and just observe what they do and how they help the nonprofit, that organization, was really awesome to see firsthand. The nonprofit that I went with had a lot of things on their agenda. I just loved it. Keep doing this assignment. It is awesome. I chose the Diagramming of the Ozarks. We met on Friday, February 21st at 12 p.m. in the BKD building that was in Springfield, Missouri. It's off St. Louis Street. Normally they meet at their actual offices, but unfortunately they had a water main break, so we had to move the meeting a couple of times to find the right meeting room, but the president of the board works at this building, so he was able to get us in a meeting. They always meet the third Tuesday of every month so that they can keep up to date on budgeting and any kind of fundraising that might be going on. They did have an agenda. Everybody got the agenda. It was emailed out. They decided that it was easier for the email to get out rather than a bunch of paper because everybody has their phones and their laptops or their iPad there. I will say that their board consists of 12 people, but there was only 8 present at the time, with somebody was on the phone as well. The the agenda was presented by the executive chairwoman who kind of ran the whole meeting. She did very, very well, but they went ahead and started with the first, which is their mission statement. They decided they needed a brand new mission statement. They needed to rebrand themselves from what they were previously doing. They don't offer some of the resources that they used to offer. So therefore, they went over a new mission statement. They had a couple of disagreements on a certain word, but by the end of it, they were all able to come to an agreement. They all voted. They needed to make sure that everybody was in agreement to this new mission statement. That's why they kind of tweaked the word. I think they had distributing and they decided to be providing instead. They all decided to come through it. Everybody gave their own. There was never anything rude or bad. It was just really good communication between everybody to get this mission statement done. The next was the nonprofit awards. They were nominated as top 3 for the small organization. They had a table that was donated to them. They decided that there was an extra seat and they were going to give it to one of their top, longest, loyal volunteers. They thought that she deserved it. She is almost the backbone of their volunteers, and they thought that she should come and be recognized just along with the organization. I thought that was very cool that they're recognizing their volunteers, which is absolutely important, especially for the board to recognize the people working in the warehouse and at the actual office rather than just what they need to get done. The next was a new board member. They had an old board member step down a few weeks ago, and the new board member, who was actually not at the meeting, but she was on the phone, on speakerphone. They had all been considering her previously, but they were there and they all needed to vote for her to be there. They all agreed. They only needed more than half. So they only needed 7, but they got 8 who was there. And they went ahead and just went with it and accepted her in, and she's going to start doing her duty as part of the board member. They also said that they were going to still email all the other board members that were not able to make it to this meeting so that they can put in their input as well, just so they don't feel like they were left out. I thought that was pretty awesome. Next, it was talking about seeking interns. This was a huge part about seeking interns because they are needing more, especially in the summer that's coming up. They need certain interns for certain different things, like collecting data, like being in the office, but also delegating the warehouse. they need also. So they had 2 different positions open. They were trying to figure out how they can get unpaid interns because their budget does not really come into that. So unfortunately, they were kind of at a slum, but one of the ladies on the board, she suggested that maybe a grant might help. However, a grant can take time, so that might not be until next year or maybe close to the end of the year, depending on how long this grant might take. However, she also thought that if they reach out to some of the normal funders that they have, asking them for money for this certain proposition of having an intern and why they need the intern. That was really, really good seeing that they are needing this and that this is an issue. I know a lot of nonprofits do pay, but some like this, who's a smaller organization, they can't afford to pay interns, but they still need the help. They need the interns. So reaching out to colleges and universities was a step that they were going to take and have them promote unpaid, and then hopefully they can find a solution here soon about getting a paid intern. Marketing and fundraising was the next. We had some issues with the certain marketing group that they were going for with a fundraiser that they've been doing, and they've decided that they are going to no longer market with them because it was costing them too much money, and their budget, which I will talk about on the next one, has dwindled this year, and they are needing to cut back on a bunch of costs, which is also why they can't pay an intern. But they talked about what they should do with there. Everybody agreed. Everybody thought that, yes, saving money is exactly what this organization needs to be able to save that money and put it back into the resources to give out to the other families that they have with providing diapers out to everybody. They did have some concerns about fundraising and what they can do. They had a couple events that they talked about and what they were going to do from here on out and getting new volunteers for these fundraisings. And next on the agenda, we talked about finance and budget. We were all handed a wonderful little budget sheet. I was very surprised that I got one, but it's nice to actually visually see. For myself, I can understand it. They have all of 2020. Of course, they only have January and part of February filled in, but they have everything from last year filled in so that when they change it, they can see the difference and hopefully see that they're doing better. You know, they have everything lined out, what grants they've had, what events, contributions, the diapers donated, just everything from revenue, expenses, non-cash net loss, net gain. It was really awesome. The treasurer did a really, really, really good job on the budget and financing. They, of course, implemented that they have less in their account than they would like, and so they need to improve that, which brings to our next new grants. They're seeking out new grants and what they can start applying for to help meet the needs of less contributions that they've had through donors. This last year, they saw it kind of go down, and so they're wanting to try and make that up with grants and hopefully within fundraisings. I thought that was an awesome implementation, and just knowing that even I can read this budget sheet knows that everybody else on the board absolutely can. Next, we talked about volunteer needs and different groups. So they're needing a lot more volunteers, and they talked about a certain company, Walmart in particular, who their company will pay their employees or give them points essentially to get a bonus or gift cards or reimbursement of somehow if they did so many points, if they volunteered somewhere, so many hours a month, a quarter, a year, however it might be. I don't know all of the details, but it was really cool hearing about it. Then they also talked about wanting to set up something for groups that when they have these big fundraising activities, or if they know that they have big orders coming up this week or this month or this quarter, like reoccurring, that they can have these groups delegated for a big task. So a lot of people, whether it's a church group, a youth group, just someone in the community that has a bunch of friends that want to do it, or like I spoke about earlier, Walmart, so a bunch of people that took the day off to come together and do it. It's kind of easier so that they don't have to come by themselves and feel uncomfortable. They come with friends or coworkers in a group, and they can get a task done and they can delegate it. that was an awesome idea that the executive director actually came up with, because she was in the meeting as well, the executive director, and then also a program coordinator, I believe. There were 2 employees that were in the meeting as well, kind of giving their own feedback about certain things. And of course, the last was the KY83 interview, which the executive director spoke about how she was going to be on the interview and that she just wants everybody to take it and share so they can get the awareness out, what time it was going to be on, what day, things like that. So next is my observations. So I'm sorry if I've been talking a lot, but my observations, I just loved it. I loved being able to sit there. They went over a lot of stuff. But the roles that people played, every single person had something. Every single person said something. There were tons of different age groups. You had a nice older gentleman who I think worked with an insurance company. You had somebody who was in the banking department, somebody who was actually talked about being a Drury alumni, and she worked in accounting. You had so many different people doing so many different things that were just there, even though they missed a lot of people, but they all said so much awesome things and worked so good. It was like a woven piece that just went perfectly together. Nobody overtook somebody else necessarily. I do know that the executive chair, she kind of sort of on the part about the mission statement kind of gave her intake and wasn't backing down on something, but was able to express why this was important. And I think that was awesome. She did a great job of doing that. The flow of the meeting went so well. They had the agenda. They followed that agenda. They had on the agenda who was supposed to present something. Almost every single person presented something and gave their opinion on something within the meeting. That was awesome. I know that our text talks about staying on track. And one of the articles that we had, you have to stay on track. You don't stay on track, it gets out of whack. People start talking about other things and having tangents. Your meeting's not going to go the way it was. That is absolutely important, and this definitely followed that. I know that there was also another article that we had about certain people and their roles within the meeting, and I would have to say that there was not any of the bad people. We had nobody playing the devil's advocate. We didn't have anybody being too dominant over somebody else. We definitely had ones that were fun, that laughed, that gave good stuff. We had others that were very, on point and straight to the point, said what they needed to do, got it done. They had votes and they stayed on those votes and they kept to it. We had everybody who played their own role, and it just, like I said, just worked so great. Conflicts and distractions, I would say that a couple of conflicts and distractions were maybe that there were a few board members that were on their cell phones, which isn't bad because it's how they communicate. I did notice they were sending emails right when somebody would say something. Oh, we need to let this person know. I'm on it, emailing them right away. It's great, but then again, for me, if I was sitting across from that person, I might not know, are they really emailing? Are they listening? Type of thing. But other people are still on their laptops as well, and that was still really good because they were getting things down. So the only distraction I say is maybe cell phones are a bit of a distraction, and maybe a laptop or a tablet might be a little bit better of least of a distraction, just in case you get a text message or somebody reaches out, which did happen in the meeting. At the very end, the program coordinator got a message about somebody delivering something in the warehouse that they couldn't find. So that kind of distracted her a minute, and she had to say, I'm really sorry, I just got a message, we're having an issue. Can you please just re-say what you just said? I will deal with this afterwards. So what I liked about it is that she apologized for being distracted, acknowledged it, and then asked to be repeated so she made sure she didn't miss anything. That was really good. Like I said, the meeting absolutely stayed on track. It followed the agenda from step to step to step. It stayed on track. They got it done. I think the meeting only ran over about 10 or 15 minutes. They wanted it to be an hour, but it ran over just a little bit longer, but that was because they said they had a ton to go over. But the meeting did go really, really well. For me being in a board meeting, this was awesome. Like I said, I didn't have anything, or I didn't feel unwelcome. They welcomed me. They thought it was great that I was there. They even asked for my input, which I thought that was awesome, about the internships. They asked about what our university does for internships, and so I was able to give them some contact information about internships. and they were really happy about it. And I told them, I was like, I was an unpaid intern. So there are unpaid interns out there. So you just have to look for them and find the right place. Don't stop looking for them, but you can. So that was great that they asked for my feedback in it. So that was awesome. In improvements, like I said, improvements, the only thing is for me is of course the cell phone. I totally understand they have a job. They all have jobs. So if something happens, they kind of got to jump on that. However, in a board meeting, it's kind of important that you stay listening and you're interacting with all of them. But other than that, those were all of my wonderful observations. Diaper Bank of the Ozarks is doing some amazing, amazing things. I know that with our texts and our readings that we had, they actually followed everything. And I was really surprised that I didn't run into more issues within the meeting of having such a bigger group. I do know that they have 12 board members currently, and they're wanting 15. So they did talk about getting 3 positions and who they're looking for and what they're needing in those positions. And for me, I think, 15 people on a board, like that's so many different attitudes and comparisons, and like the discs that we did for our assignment. I thought there's going to be so many different personalities, but what was so great is that each person was able to mesh well with the other. And when somebody had a concern, somebody else jumped in and said, well, this is why they might have that concern, but here's how we can get over it. I think it all went well. Improvements, I say cell phones. It's the only thing. I feel like, I know in the 21st century, we all have issues with cell phones. However, this meeting was awesome. I think that this project was amazing, and I look forward to hopefully being on a board one day, or at least being the executive director in something, or program director, whatever it may be, and being part of these. I really, really enjoyed it. I don't think I could say that enough. But that is my board observation, and I hope you enjoyed my talking about it all. Thank you.